How are you, Fallon?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, if you would just give us a little backstory of your journey and kind of how you found Amen University and then Amen Clinics and how it's been helpful to you and the population that you serve.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so story for me begins in 2008. And so in 2008, I was assaulted and I had I had been pushed off a balcony. And so I had fallen about 48 feet, I believe is what it was. So I had fallen this high amount, this far distance. And upon impact, I fell on my back, popped my left lung with pneumothorax, and then I whiplashed my head on the ground. But it had been raining the whole week before, so definitely blessings. Like it could have been so much worse, and so the rain saved me in this way. And so, and it's really been a difficult time. And so I was comatose for about a month, and Glasgow coma scale of 3, and so, and then post traumatic amnesia was about 45 days, and so there's a chunk of my young adulthood where it's just black.
Yeah.
And so I had finally recovered. I had learned how to walk and talk and eat, of course. But nothing was more refreshing than taking your first breath again, right? And so I felt that was very refreshing. And so through that, I began managing my physical symptoms. So I was in a wheelchair for a while after my accident, and so I had gone through rehabilitation, but I was still in the wheelchair. And going through all these physical difficulties, I was able to manage them, but it was the cognitive, the mental symptoms of brain injury, that sequelae, that was really so thrashing to my idea of what the future was going to be like. I was only 18 at this time.
Right.
I was only 18, so I still had my whole life ahead of me. What do you mean I'm already taking out the game, right? It's like I still have like so much, and it was of course the depression, and my thoughts and became really my brain really became my own worst enemy. um and because that beautiful paradox I always talk about, like the brain injury injured the thing that you need most uh, after an injury, right? And so like, or the other one is like the thing that picks up problems, detects issues, is the thing that has the problem. And so I wasn't able to really understand that I was having difficulties, even though I was. And so over time, I've struggling, lost. I really wasn't sure where to go. I mean, like I had really good psychologists, really good medical care, and they did everything for me, and I appreciate them so much. But then when it came to reintegrating, um, I felt like I was on like a floating door in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. We're closer here in California. Um, and so I was like floating on this door, and didn't even know which way to go. I was felt lost, understood. I felt so alone, um, so alone, and it was like the deepest, darkest feeling. And I think there can be a lot of understanding with that, just because like how I mean, I would talk about things and it didn't really seem like it was real. And I could definitely see how it would come off to someone who doesn't understand. And so I felt misunderstood. And it happened for 5, 6 years. I got got a little bit of success, right? So it was my family that was very helpful, and so I had family from overseas come, and so I just felt so much support, which is really I think the number one and like there's of course like the music was very helpful for me in my rehabilitation. I relearned how to play the piano. Um, at the time, I had what they called music alexia, which I wasn't aware was a thing. But it's you forget how to read music, and so like dyslexia, but for music. And so I relearned that. My family was very supportive, and so um, I went back to school, and I was struggled through it. I would read and study till I fell asleep at my desk. I would exercise until like literally my feet would start bleeding. Um, I would right before I was sleeping, I would pray because I was looking for spiritual strength as well, and
Yeah.
I would pray until I had nothing left to say. So God, you know how long your voice messages were? Um, and all those things culminated after 5 months, right? I would push myself to the absolute limit because that's how I knew. Every day
Mhm.
I wanted to be better than I was yesterday. And how would I know that unless I push myself to the limit? And so after 5 months of this whole ordeal, my first semester back, um, I had gotten a 4.0. And I remember
Amazing.
just crying after that last final because it was the culmination of everything. It was everyone's time, my therapist's time, my provider's time, my family's time, everyone who helped support me culminated in this moment. And so, and kind of the rest is history after that. I graduated from college in 2012. I graduated from my first master's program in 2015. And I got my second master's in this year in March, right before the shutdowns. So right
Yeah.
before the shutdowns. And I am on schedule to graduate from a PhD in clinical psychology with a concentration in neuropsychology in year 2022. So, yeah, not quite there. Our story's not done yet, but it's definitely it's been a crazy ride of self-discovery, of appreciation, and life's beauty, and how much beauty is there is just a matter of taking the time to really appreciate what's out there. And uh, when I came to St. Jude's Brain Injury Network, I came here, and so like I'm still here, so I haven't left, so they can't get rid of me
Yeah.
now. Can't get rid of me. And so I came in 2013. And when I came in 2013, I was still so lost. And I was like, uh, can we? And I spoke to who were my supervisors then, but are my colleagues now. And we just had lunch the other
Love
day.
that.
We're actually having lunch after this, actually. And I asked them if I could reach out um, to whoever was out there because I felt like I was alone, but I knew, or at least I hoped that I wasn't. And so I, sent out emails. It's like, hey, there's gonna be coffee. There's gonna be bread, food, donuts, what have you, right? And so, of course, now that I think I know about nutrition, that's probably not the best thing, but and so I called it out. And so in 2013, end of 2013, there was four of us, including myself, and one whole pot of coffee, right? And so, and we connected, and we connected again, and then 10 showed up, 15 showed up, 20 showed up, and 7 years later, there's 30, 35, 40 plus of us that meet every week. We meet via Zoom, now because of the shutdown, so you have to be smart about it. And I will put the link if anyone is. Oh no, no, I won't. I will send the link to.
Yeah, I can post it later.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, that's the first time that I met you was on one of those support groups. And I mean, you're so good at bringing people together in a time where they are scared and lonely. And I mean, I was like tearful just in that group because there was just so much love and so much hope. And it's just amazing what you're doing and that you've been there and you really get it. So, you know, just like a lot of people in the counseling field, like they've been through their own stuff, worked on it, and then are ready to help other people. So,
Wounded healers.
beautiful.
Right. Yeah. And then through that, I mean, I it was, and so so now it's this thing. It's every week, you know, 35, 40 plus people, however many, and it started off. There's like 3 other people plus me, and so, and it came from the idea that the hope really that there's, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
Right.
And I had you come out and bless us all with you know, with the information, great information, and was able to get hooked up with Amen University or Amen Clinics through it was through Katie, who was brought to our family, as I'll refer to it as our family because that's really what it is to me. To our family through another one of our family members, Bjorn, and it was through him and their work together that Katie was connected to me, and it was through Katie that I was connected to you. And so I'm very thankful, very hopeful, and the services that I've gotten through Amen Clinics have been instrumental for me to not only understand myself, but to assist our family with understanding their unique system or network of symptoms, right? Because as you know, as they say in the brain injury rehab world, which I'm now part of, both as a consumer and as a provider, which is
Right.
fantastic. Love it. I'm really loving the holistic viewpoint, the vantage point that I'm getting from this angle. And so, like we say, is once you've seen one brain injury, you've seen one brain injury, right? There's right. There's everyone manifests it differently, right? The impact, all these different things, like where did you get impacted? Like where can we localize the damage? What resources do you have available? What are some of your interests? What are your motivations? And maybe, because then if you're fortunate enough, your symptoms might not be something that you'll need in your day-to-day anyway, right? So then in which case you're fortunate in that. But for most people, that's not the case, right? And so for most people, and the brain is, I mean, it's like, as many have said, it's I wouldn't say it's, but it's generally the last frontier in medical science for now, right? That we know of, right? There might be a whole bunch of more frontiers like next year, who knows? But the brain is this comprehensive, it's just such an all-encompassing organ. I mean, it can contemplate the universe, it can contemplate itself contemplating on the universe, and it can, you know, contemplate everything in it. And so it makes sense that something that damages the thing that's supposed to detect problems is the thing with the problem.
Right.
Right? It's the thing with the problem. Suddenly now, if it can contemplate the vastness of the universe for a particular survivor is crumbling, because for that survivor, their brain is their universe. So, I mean, we see it, right? It's like people just, oh my God, and they catastrophize everything, because to them, honestly, quite literally, that is true. Mm-hmm. That is 100% true.
Right. Absolutely.
For them. And so that becomes an understanding where we're trying to take into account um, how we can recover, because that's the wonderful, wonderful thing, is that the neuroplasticity, and through my connections to and the services I've been provided with MA clinics, MA University, the wonderful classes that that I've had the opportunity to partake in, um, of course, the scans as well, and then the comprehensive reports. Um, really can, I mean, I was already hopeful enough that I was going to get better. This doesn't end. I'm going to get better. Now with all this, I'm even more hopeful. And so what I'm hoping here is, like, the more hope that I have, I can pass that on to people who are struggling through it currently.
You're doing that, and you do it extremely, extremely well.
Thank you. Yeah. So, and we try to pass on this sort of the things that we learn of resilience and hope, and how we can pass that on to our family members and our brothers and our sisters. And, we're fortunate to have found one another, because, we can't all be floating on a boat in the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean's only so big, right?
Need someone to help us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I thank very much MA University and my opportunities that have been provided to me. So I appreciate it very much.
Well, we are happy to do it, and just so grateful for your community and everything that you're doing, and just you as a person. I mean, your story is just so powerful. It still kind of hits me for the first time each time you tell it. So
thank you. Yeah, it's been a hell of a past 12 years. It was 12 years and some change even, right? And so it was in January 2008. And now I've gone through a whole lot of forgiveness and all that, because I was there. I didn't.
You didn't ask for what happened to you to happen.
I was there with two friends who I called brothers.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's been a long time. I've since forgiven them, and we move forward. But for you say it took me 10 years, right? So it took me 10 years, but we got there eventually. And so, and now that things have unfolded as they have, and I've never lost hope that things are going to get better, I can confidently say that if I could look back 12 and a half years ago and stop it from happening, I wouldn't change a thing. Not a damn thing.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And anyone that's just joining us now, I mean, he was pushed off of a balcony by someone he loved and trusted, and fell 40 feet onto the pavement and was in a coma for how long?
It was soil. So it was
okay.
Pavement, who knows, but it was soil, right? So
okay.
it was soft. Yes, thank goodness. And I was in a coma for almost a month, so about 3 weeks.
Yeah, at 18.
Yeah.
So when your brain is still developing, which I think is the most powerful thing of your story, is that your brain was still developing and this trauma happened to you at such a vulnerable time, where a lot of people, I mean, I've met with people in their 60s, 70s, 80s when I was doing intakes at the clinics, and they're still holding grudges and unable to forgive things that happened when they were young. So the fact that you've moved through that in 10 years is pretty amazing.
Yeah, so it's been a blessing. And there was one very, very clear gem that I got from all my many hours of voicemails to the man upstairs, is we are blessed with hardships to humble us, as it is the meek who shall inherit the earth. And I would say that wrote, basically just because, like, oh, okay, it came to me, so I would just say it wrote. But then when I was recovering and I couldn't use my legs, please, if I could just walk again, I would give so much to just walk again. And when I took my first step away from my wheelchair unassisted, I felt magic. Oh, right foot magic, right? Left foot magic. And it was in that moment I realized what that saying meant. It was through my hardships that I inherited a lens of the deepest appreciation. And so now I take the stairs everywhere, right? If I'm on the whatever floor, 16th floor, I'll walk every one of those steps gladly.
I love that. I think that's a good ending note, don't you? And that actual like thinking of you walking up the stairs and just like how much that's in line with just kind of your journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's been fantastic. And
Thank you.
also, yeah, and I guess one thing too is the concussion recovery course.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As I do want to just say that the concussion recovery course at MA University is very good. They walk through the however many modules it is. There's a thematic sort of unifying across all of the modules. The bright minds risk factors, and so from our family, the two risk factors that were most impactful to understand and control in the overall rehabilitation approach is sleep and mental health. So sleep well and smile.
So a lot of populations, that's the last thing that they focus on are those two things. So thank you for saying that. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. Thank you. It's always so good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Bye.
Bye.